But I'm David Niles, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm the president of St. Michael Radio here in Tulsa. We've been on air for over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
Three and a half years. The frequency is 94.9, so make sure to put that on your presets. You should be warned, Catholic radio is highly addictive.
Yes.
And you will
Very addictive.
You will forget about it every other radio station. So I'm just, I used to listen to music, and now I'm not cultured at all. But I'm a lot holier.
Well, that's
at least I think I am.
Yeah, that's debatable. I'm Adam Minahan. I'm the vice president, kind of the guy who just does what Dave says. And I have a wife and 4 children. I have 2 boys, 1 in heaven, and a baby girl who's 7 weeks. So our house is very active. There's never a dull moment in our house. I'll let you tell them that.
So I'm also married, as Mike said. I have 2 girls. I have a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old. It's very cute.
Yes. They are very cute.
It's very cute around at home.
Yes.
But we're here to talk about the radio station and kind of share the story of how it got started. Some of you may have heard the story before, but that's okay because it gets better every time.
We get a little bit better every time. So.
The story gets more extravagant each time, but it's always
a fisherman's
true.
story.
It's always true.
Caught one this big.
So Mike is correct. Adam and I were, I remember hanging out in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember hanging out before then. We could have, but I don't know.
Right.
And so we've been friends basically our whole lives. And we moved, after college, we got a house together over on, here on Brookside. That was fun. We used to go to the bar on Tuesdays.
Because we had 0 responsibilities,
Yeah.
really.
But so, in college, he and I, we both kind of have a similar story, where we both, like a lot of guys, a lot of people who go to college, stopped practicing our faith. For me personally, it wasn't that I didn't believe in the Catholic Church. If you had asked me, I'd have said, no, yeah, the Catholic Church is totally true. I believe all that stuff. I just didn't really care, I was kind of apathetic to it all.
We were both worshiping the Holy Trinity of me, myself, and I. Is really what it was. We knew. Let's back up just a little bit. We both were raised cradle Catholics. We have amazing foundation of our Catholic faith. Both of our parents did amazing jobs keeping us active in the parish. We were very active. We did all CCDs. We even taught CCD class. We were very active in our faith. We knew our faith, but we fell into the worshiping me, myself, and I once we got into college, which we all know does not work out very well for very long at all.
Yeah, in college I was really trying to study very specific carbonated beverages. Then it turned out there wasn't even a class for that. I was just doing all this extracurricular activity.
The class was like getting into our college experience.
Right. So I was very distracted, and I kind of had this attitude of, I'll go back to the church someday, but not right now. I don't want to. Sort of like St. Augustine. St. Thomas.
No, St. Augustine, you had it right.
I always get this wrong, and he always has to correct me. St. Augustine, who said, Lord, give me chastity, but not yet.
So it's kind of the same deal.
Yeah,
So
I can relate to that.
Dave and I graduate college, and we decide, let's move in together. We've hung out with each other. Our families grew up together. It just kind of made sense.
Yeah.
So we moved in together, and at one point, I remember I came out of my room. We lived in a 900 square foot home. So, it was very small. I walk out of my room and I go, hey, Dave, what do you think about going to Mass this Sunday? And it was I thought this is a novel idea. That I'm somebody new just thought of some epic question of, what do you think about going to Mass this Sunday?
Yeah. And I remember that is whoa, what a crazy idea. Okay. Let's try it. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's we've been in, okay, Dave and I both went to Mass. The first time Dave and I ever missed Mass was the second week of college. That was the very first time we ever missed.
We went to different colleges, by the way.
Right, yeah. I went to OSU, he went to UCO. But the first time we ever missed Mass was the second week of college. We both went the first time, and then it was like, let's, it wasn't convenient. And it got really easy to miss after you missed the first time. And so once we moved back in together, we kind of said, hey, let's go back to Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and before that, we had discovered Catholic radio.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very important part that we should mention.
Correct.
There was Catholic radio existed in Tulsa before we came along. It was being broadcast out of Catoosa, so it was really only available for the east side of the town. It just
it was really shoddy.
Yeah, I mean that was just when you apply for a radio station permit, it's not only frequency, like, all right, this is the frequency I'm applying for, but the FCC will tell you here on a map, here's the area you're allowed to put a tower. So you can't just go put it anywhere you want. There's a lot of regulations. So that was the permit they had, and we could get it here, even though we're not on the east side of town. But so, as I drove around, I kind of found it and started listening to it, and it was really Catholic radio that ignited for me, this desire to study apologetics and to study the faith, to go deeper into the faith.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it because I had always known the Catholic faith is true. I mean, I was convicted in that. Once again, I just didn't always care. But apologetics empowered me to tell someone, no. Yeah, I know you're a variant form of Christian, but the Catholic faith is the true Christianity, and I can prove it to you. That's apologetics, is I can show you and explain to you. It's not, faith isn't just something that you have to believe because your parents told you to, or because, you're supposed to, but there's no evidence to support it. That's not what faith is. We can prove the Catholic Church is the true church. And anybody who studies the early church fathers or anything before the year 1500 is in really dangerous territory if you're not a Catholic, because you're going to end up one pretty quick. So Catholic radio is what introduced me to apologetics. And
well, it took us from being Catholic, being culturally Catholic, to saying, I love being Catholic. Like, Catholic is who I am. I am a Catholic. That is my identity. So it took us from casually being called, oh yeah, I'm a Catholic, to, no, I love being Catholic.
Yeah. So we started listening to Catholic radio. We kind of fell in love with it. We were addicts. Time went by, and
we avoided 12-step programs.
Oh yeah.
We avoided those.
Yeah, I don't need it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I like my addiction.
Catholic radio.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. Just making sure we're on the same page.
So then we ended up moving to Broken Arrow. Adam bought a house out there, and I didn't want to buy my own house, so I was like, all right, I'll come with you. That's fine. And you got married,
right?
And then we had this funny living arrangement where you and your wife were living in your house, and so was I.
Yeah.
And then you guys went and decided to have a baby.
Right.
Which was rude.
Because as soon as I had a baby, I was like, listen, Dave, I really like you. You're my best friend, but you got to get out. Go find somewhere else to live. And he did.
It wasn't a hard sell. I was like, all right, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
So I got my own place to live. I had to finally grow up. And then one day I was over at his house. This is where the story of the radio station really begins.
Mm-hmm. How long do we have, Mike, by the way? I just want to make sure we're not going over.
How about 8:30?
Oh, no, we'll be done way before then. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm hanging out, minding my own business. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even praying. I'm just hanging out. And I get this email from this guy named Jeff, who I had talked to once for about 3 minutes. And I talked to him about advertising on Catholic radio because I heard it was very affordable.
Jeff is the president of Oklahoma Catholic Broadcasting in Oklahoma City.
Correct.
So he's from Oklahoma City. We're in Tulsa.
And I get this email from him, and this is what it said. It said, David, I have a crazy idea for a new Catholic radio station in Broken Arrow, but you have to call me tonight if we're going to pull this off. Jeff.
That's all it said.
That's all it said. And it's like, what the heck is this?
By the way, this was like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
9 p.m.
So I showed it to Adam, and I told him, listen, I don't know what this guy wants, but I'll bet you it's money. And I don't have any money. So this is easy.
Right, because like when you get desperate emails or phone calls, it's always like, hey, we can do this, but we got to have your money. You know, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what you always...
I felt like there was going to be a prince of Nigeria involved, you
Yeah.
know, that...
I mean,
You know,
Dave and I
I'll-
just got finished eating our ramen noodles, and this guy's asking
If
for
I can
money.
just send $1,000 to unlock the funds,
Yeah.
you know, then we're all going to be rich, right? Like it felt that way. So I showed it to Adam, and he said, just call him.
Just see what happens.
Because I wasn't going to call him, you know, like, you have to call me tonight, right now, hurry, new Catholic radio station. So he convinced me, and I did, and so I call this guy, and before I know it, he's going into this stuff about there's this window open in the FCC, but someone has to be within 10 miles of the tower to apply for it, and we can incorporate ourselves online, and we can get the station, and it closes at midnight. Nobody else will do it. Would you guys want to do it? And I remember looking over at Adam, and
I'm just
he's
gonna like,
"Yes,
this is awesome.
yes,
This is awesome.
You have to do this." And so then I blacked out for a second, and then the next thing I knew, we had incorporated ourselves, and we had applied for this radio station. And you want to tell the next part?
Yeah,
I feel like you like the next part.
This is like my favorite part of the story. So the key was that the FCC said you have to submit your paperwork in by midnight, that night. And this was it. Remember, we got the email at 9 p.m. We incorporated ourselves, and we said, okay, we got to figure out, how to submit this by midnight that night to the FCC website. We start looking at all this paperwork and realize we don't know what we're signing. Like, this is legal jargon. Dave and I aren't lawyers. We have no idea really what they're asking. We don't even know if we're filling it out correctly. We'll just give it a shot. So we keep, this one. Let's pick this one. We're kind of just guessing.
Yeah. And
taking
so
stabs at it.
At one point, we called this guy Jeff back. We're like, Jeff, hey man, you got to help us out. And so we think he knows what he's doing. And he starts telling us what to do. Like, here's the answer to this question. Turns out he didn't know what he was doing either.
No, he didn't either. He was guessing just as much as we are. So we fill out this out, and we're like, okay, I feel like that we did it the best we could. Let's just submit it, because it's about 11:40. This is 11:40, so we're like, we got to just submit this. So we get online to submit it, and the FCC website had crashed. Because there were so many people trying to get onto the FCC website to fill out their paperwork, the FCC server couldn't handle it, and it crashed. So the FCC gave us one more day to extend. They extended it one more day, which gave Dave and I the opportunity to talk to a lawyer and have him tell us how to really fill this out, because we didn't know. Turns out we wouldn't have had it right anyway, because we didn't fill it out correctly. So they tell us to fill it out this way. We submit it. And we were kind of submitting it with a couple other people, but we had a good odds because the engineer who told us said, this is how you should do it. This is where you should go. And that's what we did. So we kind of just held our breath and clicked send. And turns out they granted it to us. But with a kicker. They said, you have to be on air within 2 years or we revoke your license.
Yeah.
So they basically gave us the rights to the radio station, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we were applying for it, this engineer, he told us there's 2 frequencies available here in Tulsa. This one right here, this is the best one. Everybody's going to apply for this one. This one over here takes a little bit more paperwork, but I think we can figure it out. And it's more complicated. I don't think anybody will even apply for it. And he was right. We were the only ones who applied for this radio station. A whole bunch of people applied for this other one, and they all had to lawyer up and present their case before the FCC about why their idea for the radio station was going to best serve the community. And meanwhile, We were just like,
You just
oh,
had a
you
radio
guys-
station.
Oh, yeah, well, we got our permit. Yeah, we were approved, don't worry.
So let's remember, like 2 days ago, Dave and I had zero intentions or even having an idea of having a radio station.
We were just hanging out.
We were just like minding our own business. And 48 hours later, we own this radio station.
I think we were probably playing video games or something.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh, we were all jazzed. You know, we were like, I was like telling my wife, yeah, I own a radio station. You know, like, kind of.
We totally were.
We just like we felt so good, like, oh yeah, we own this radio station. And then we realized, oh wait, we got to raise money to get the radio on air. Like we don't
actually own anything.
We don't own anything other than the rights to a radio station. Yeah. So we talked to this guy, and he's like, hey, you got to raise $30,000 just to buy the equipment. And Dave and I looked at each other and we're like, almost like, you know, when somebody says a ridiculous number, when you look at each other and you're like, what, you know, how are we gonna get there? Like, he might as well have said $3 million, because Dave and I we've never raised a single penny in our life. We've never fundraised before. So $30,000 to us was the same equivalent to $3 million, right? So Dave and I were like, well, what are we gonna do? Like, we have 2 years to raise $30,000. How are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
And so we started talking to a couple priests within the diocese. We went to St. Bernard's one weekend, talked after Mass. Monsignor Gallus gave us 2 minutes at the end of each Mass. We went up there, presented our case, and at the end of that weekend, we had $30,000.
Actually, we had more than that. But
yeah, we actually had a little bit more than that, but we had enough to buy the equipment.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Which was just like one of those, you know, I think everybody can know there's a time in your life when you realize I am not in control. There are things that are lining up, that things are happening right now that have nothing to do with me. I'm just here being able to witness it. This was one of those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really was the moment that kind of opened our eyes, because we go speak one weekend, raise all this money, and then you kind of look back from that point and like, oh yeah, well, remember when the FCC website crashed and we were able to correct our paperwork so that we didn't get our application rejected? And like, there were several other things that had just been falling into place, and that was when I realized, okay, this is pretty high on God's priority list, this Catholic radio station.
And he picked like 2 knuckleheads that didn't know anything about it to run it, which was really funny.
Yeah.
God has a sense of humor.
I hope so. Otherwise, I'm really misinterpreting a lot of things he does. So we raised the money. We ordered the equipment. We got on air, and this is just for a low power station. This is a station. It's still on air. It's 102.9, but you can really only get it in Broken Arrow. It only makes it about 5 miles in any direction. And since then, we have subsumed 94.9, and we've moved it. But we'll get to that in a minute. So here we are. We're starting to grow, and we have to do things like launch a website. We're trying to create an app. We're trying to let people know that we have this new Catholic radio station and get the word out. Meanwhile, we have growing families and day jobs, and this is all volunteer.
And we make zero money. Well, first of all, you don't get into Catholic radio to make money. Like, you don't get into Catholic ministry to make money. You're banking on the retirement plan, right? The eternal retirement plan. That's what you're banking on. So we don't make any money doing this.
So this is just another an instance of God kind of showing off a little bit. I was getting to the point where I was overwhelmed. There was just too much for me to do. My list is growing, and things are being added to it faster than I can check them off.
Because at that point, it was just Dave and I. We were just trying, or we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. We were trying to just get everything done.
You come home from work at 5, try to spend some time with your kids before they go to bed at 8, and then, you have a couple hours.
From 8 to 11, yeah.
Just you and your spouse. So when are you supposed to actually work on all this huge list you have? So I had one of those prayers where I went to God with my list of demands. It's like, all right, God, this is what you're going to do for me, okay, buddy? Because we needed someone to help us. We needed someone who had time.
And quick.
And who knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing we didn't know what we were doing. So I was like, all right, God, I want someone who is recently retired, who has spent their life in radio, who can help us with editing, and who is, on fire for their faith, because it's just better that way. And then the next week, we get this email from this guy. His name is also Jeff. He's like, hey, let's meet for lunch. And we go meet him for lunch, and he had just retired. He had taught radio broadcast engineering at ORU his whole life. Well, for many, many, many years.
Like 30 years.
He had just converted a couple years ago and was on fire for the faith. And I want to help you. Editing, I can do editing. That's no big deal. And it was just, he literally, in about 10 minutes at lunch, checked off every single box that I had gone, my list of demands. It's like I was hostage negotiating with God, which is funny. You should hostage negotiate from a position of power. It doesn't really work that way with God. And so it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, all right, God, you're really showing off now. I was like, I get it, okay? You heard me. But as it turned out, this guy, he ended up getting an offer for another job, a job he'd always wanted to do. And so he was going to take that, and he wasn't able to help us for very long. Mm-hmm. But what I heard God telling me that this situation, he was saying, listen, Dave, I have already given you everything that you need, okay? You think you need these other things, and I will give them to you just for your own comfort. But I am enough for you, okay? You don't need anything else. And that was the moment when I was a believer, of course, I was all about this before, but from then on, I've been all in when it comes to the radio station, because I know God is in control of this. And time again, I wish we had written a lot of these things down, because there have been things that we have done that should have been disastrous, and they turned out to be the exact right thing to do. We've made mistakes. People have come in to our story who provided something that at first seemed so obscure, and where we were thinking, what are we supposed to do with this? This is a generous person, and they're giving this to us, but
what are we going to do?
We don't need this. This is silly. Right. I guess we're just going to store this somewhere, or kind of like we have to find something to do with this now. And then a few days later, some crisis occurs where, oh, hey, we have the exact thing that we need to solve this crisis. Remember that thing we were complaining about? Oh, right. It's a good thing we got it.
Right.
It's just been that over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so now we have 94.9. I mentioned in the beginning it was out in Catoosa. It has since been moved to 61st and Sheridan. So if you are someone, I hear this a lot, so if you're one of these people who says, oh, I've tried to listen to it and it just doesn't come in very well, try again, because a year and a half ago we moved it. And if you're familiar with that area, if you could picture 61st and Sheridan in your head, as you head east from that intersection, you go up a hill, and then you come way down the hill, and there's like a Quick Trip and a Joe's Crab Shack down there, right? So it's this big hill. Well, our tower's on top of the hill. And the way the FCC works is that they measure, they'll say, all right, you're allowed to broadcast it at this many watts, this high above the ground. Okay, well, we're on top of a hill, so...
it benefits us.
Yeah, that helps us out a little bit. So instead of being 100 feet from the bottom of the hill, we're 100 feet at the top of the hill.
Right.
So it's a great location to broadcast from. The signal goes about halfway to Bartlesville, all the way to Okmulgee. Mm-hmm. It's a really good, clear channel, so do check it out.
So we're a 24-hour station. We run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How many of you know Mother Angelica? Yeah, that name rings a bell at least. So Mother Angelica, started EWTN network. She started it as a television station, and then she thought she was done, and then God called her to do more and asked her to do shortwave radio. So Mother Angelica realized that in order for Catholic radio to grow, that they would provide the content for anybody who wants to start a radio station for free. So that way, somebody could go and start a radio station and have good Orthodox Catholic content for free. So we are able to pull EWTN content for free. Now that's a huge benefit to us because if you guys haven't heard, like Catholic Answers Live is a 5 to 7 Monday through Friday show. Awesome show. It's a call-in show, and they have top-notch apologists that answer questions from 5 to 7 on specific topics. Sometimes it's an open forum. But on top of that, they have Dr. David Anders at 1. They have Teresa Tomeo, Dr. Ray Grindy, top-notch people. I mean, great people. So Dave and I realized we have content. We don't have to come up with a lot of content. However, what we do need to do is give it a local flair. We need to have something that people realize that this is a Tulsa station and not just a syndicated programs. So Dave and I started, and we asked a couple people, and when we first started, we asked Timothy Putnam, who used to be here, worked for the diocese.
He was our family life director for a couple years ago.
He started a show for us whenever he was here, and actually we still run his show. He's no longer here in Tulsa, but we still run his show. We hit up Deacon Tim Sullivan. I don't know if anybody knows Deacon Tim Sullivan. Great man. He did a show for us. He no longer can because he's taken on more responsibilities, but he did a local show for us for a while. And throughout this whole process, we start getting these analytics and kind of getting some feedback on who's listening. And we realize that 70 to 80% of our listeners are females, which I don't think that's very surprising, right? Because God bless the women in our church because they have kept the church going. You can see it from everywhere, from lectures to people in CCD to everywhere. I mean, God bless the women in our church because they have kept our church running. And you can see that in every parish that we go to. But we realize there's a missing part of the body of Christ that is not being active, which are the men. And we realized that most of the programming seemed to be geared towards either a broad audience or female-based audience. So we thought, well, there's not something that is something that is just something that men could listen to, that could relate to. So Dave decided he was going to start this show on promoting vocations, on talking to different priests throughout the diocese and different married people, and he was about to start it. And I realized he was about to start it. He actually bought the equipment for the show because he was going to start this show. And I realized he was about to start it. And I was wanting to start this show geared towards men, but I didn't want to. I did not want to do it by myself. I didn't think I was good enough to do it by myself. I'm still not good enough to do it by myself. So I knew I needed somebody there. So I would come over to Dave's house and I said, Dave, listen. Mind you, I've known Dave for 30 years, so I know how to sell Dave. So I walk over there and I said, Dave, listen. You and I both know there's not enough men listening to Catholic radio. You and I both know that we need to have a program for men. We need to start this show. And I saw him shaking his head. I said, hold on. We're going to drink on air.
Oh.
And he said, what? I said, we're going to drink on air. Listen, we're going to start a show. He goes, what's it called? And at this point, I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I'm a sales guy by trade. So I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, kind of thinking this whole thing through as I went. I said, it's called the Catholic Man Show. And, that's super creative, right? The Catholic Man Show. I said, the Catholic Man Show. He goes, what are we going to do? And I said, man, what we're going to do, we're just going to be relatable. We're just going to have a conversation.
So what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. We're just going to have a conversation. We're going to do stuff that guys like to do and promote virtue. That was my thing. We like to promote virtue. And so I said, let's start out by having what we call a man drink. So every episode of the Catholic Man Show, we do 3 things. We open, review, and enjoy a man beverage. While doing that, which is typically either a whiskey or a beer or some kind of drink, while we do that, we promote the virtue of temperance and the virtue of moderation. It's one thing in our society does not promote that. whatsoever. I think everybody here can agree that it's either completely abstain or excess, excess, excess. So it's one thing to say, let's promote moderation. It's another thing to be doing moderation.
Yeah.
So we decided we're going to open, review, and enjoy a man beverage. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight what we call a man gear. And a man gear can be anything from like a pocket knife to a rosary to a missile to like not a missile. Like I just realized that
Could be a missile, dude.
not like a military missile.
I like to blow
the
stuff
missile,
up.
like the missile. Like a Bible.
4th of July.
4th of July firecracker. Yeah. But
Maybe a chainsaw.
A chainsaw.
Crossbow. We haven't done either of those.
We haven't done
but
either of
should.
those, but those are good. A hammer, and figure out why is it that that's a man item.
Flamethrower.
We've never done a flamethrower.
Why not? But we can.
I mean, a potato gun would be sweet too.
I've
Okay,
got
we're digressing. We're digressing really fast. So we talk about a gear, which is like something that every man should have during their weekly or monthly, day-to-day basis.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody needs.
Every man should be carrying a rosary. That's something that every man should be doing. We're supposed to be praying the rosary every day. How do you pray a rosary without having a rosary? This is a spiritual weapon. So why are you going to battle every day without your weapon? That's kind of silly. So we promote these kind of things that men should be doing, and then it kind of bleeds into what we call a man topic. And we have a conversation between Dave and I. Full disclosure, we don't have theology degrees. We don't have philosophy degrees. Everything that we kind of learned has been through either Catholic radio or just doing our own research.
But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
And they did leave the light on for you. Oh wait, no, that's Motel 6.
That's something different.
Yeah, that's Motel 6. I'm sorry. But there's something about guys can get together. They can sit around a campfire. They can sit together and just have a conversation at the end of the night that think, we should have recorded that. That was an awesome conversation. We have that, so we incorporate that idea into the Catholic Man Show. We talk about anything from being the spiritual leader of your family to how much the Bible is in the Mass, to NFP, to how men should stop looking at pornography, to all different types of topics. How to have little kids in Mass, the kind of do's and don'ts. All different types of topics that regular Catholic guys typically talk about.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Just War Theory. It's coming up.
Yeah, Just War Theory will be coming up, which will be interesting. So we talk about all different types of topics that are just related. Like the one that's actually airing tonight is wedding season is coming up, right? This is the wedding season. So everybody's getting excited about wedding season. Well, what happens when there's wedding season? There's a bachelor party. Every man has they have bachelor parties. So we're talking about tonight.
By the way,
it's almost over.
As a display of holiness, we are actually bilocating right now. Because we are here with you and on the radio at the same time. So you guys are all the witnesses when my cause for candidacy to sainthood comes up, you can tell them, no, I'm pretty sure he bilocated one time.
You guys are all witnesses.
I'm counting on you.
But tonight we're talking about how to have a bachelor party without losing your soul. That's something that every man should know what to do, and how to get out of situations that are when you're put into something that is not good. How do you get out of a situation when all the men are together and you guys have been having dinner and maybe a couple of drinks and somebody says, let's go to a strip club? How do you get out of that? How do you get people away from that idea? These are the kind of topics that we talk about on the Catholic Man Show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really funny too, because Dave and I, when we first started this show, we thought no one's going to listen. In fact, we said that, and we purposely put it on Thursdays at 7 p.m. because that's like a time nobody listens to the radio. Like everybody's having dinner with their families and things like that. And so we thought that's okay. We'll just put it here. It turns out we kind of struck a nerve, and I think that men can relate to some of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah. I think men out there today are thirsting for an authentic portrayal of what it means to be a man. I think men are tired of manhood being dominated by the politically correct. we're tired of an authentic manliness being sacrificed on the altars of effeminacy, because the sexual revolution, which really fed the feminist movement, has really destroyed. It was an attack on manhood,
and attack on the family.
And if you want to know what a feminist is, you should look to an authentic man. Okay, I am a feminist. If you ask me, in the authentic form of what should a feminist be? Someone who upholds the dignity of feminism, of the feminine. Okay, that is what every man should be. So there should be no more greater feminist than every man next to you. So
every Catholic man next to you, especially.
It's our job. Every man has been assigned by God the dignity of every woman. So even if she doesn't want to uphold her own dignity, men, it is our job to step in and uphold her dignity nonetheless. And
we have
that is the nerve that I think
has because we have the perfect example. Jesus already told us through St. Paul. St. Paul in Ephesians 5 says, which is always a controversial topic, a controversial Bible verse because it's misinterpreted. Because the very beginning says, right, it says, wives, be subordinate to your husbands, right? And that's when guys say, see, I'm hungry. Go make me a sandwich. That's when they say stuff like that, right? They say silly things. But they don't keep reading. Because right after that, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And what did Christ do? Christ laid down his life for the church. So what St. Paul is really saying here is, wives, allow your husbands to lay down their life for you.
Yeah, there's only one person getting killed here, okay? And
right.
It's the dudes.
Right.
We should have the tougher job. And we do, I think. So, but on the Man Show, the Catholic Man Show, if you're thinking, this sounds fun, I think I'll listen. You should be warned.
We have a warning at the beginning of our show.
The show comes with a warning because on the Catholic Man Show, we are dealing with very high levels of manliness, okay? Which could be potentially toxic levels of manliness. So if you or anyone in the listening radius is susceptible to high levels of manliness, the show will be harmful to their health, okay? So just be warned if at any point they black out or fall down, maybe turn the volume down a little bit, and they should regain consciousness at some point, okay? That's just for liability's sake, because it's very, potentially dangerous things that we're doing.
So we obviously joke around, but the idea of the Man Show is really to try to portray what true masculinity is, and what is true masculinity but to lay down your life for another. You have to conquer yourself only to be able to lay down your life for another, to give yourself to another. So that's what we do on the Catholic Man Show. And we hope that what it does is it brings more men like Dave and I, who just left college, not practicing Catholics, to turn back to loving the faith, to turn back to loving being Catholic.
Mm-hmm. And we have been fortunate enough to enjoy some success with the show. After a while, we realized, we should be really keeping track of our analytics. One thing you can do with a podcast, so we also podcast the show. It airs on the radio, and then tomorrow morning, you can download it if you subscribe to the podcast. If you don't know what a podcast is, it's just a show that
it archives our show and then replays it.
It gets, put out on the internet every week or so, and if you have a podcast player, it will automatically download the new episode every time it gets broadcast. So tomorrow, the podcast will be available for tonight's episode. We started paying attention to the analytics at some point, and we realized we had over 4,000 people subscribed to our podcast, which the podcast world, if you haven't ever looked at it, it's crazy. Okay, I mean, there's easily 1 million shows. There are so many podcasts out there that it's tough to break into because there's just so much. People can only listen to so many podcasts at a time, and they probably just don't have time for your podcast because everybody else has one too. So that when I found out we had 4,000, that was about 3,995 more subscribers than I really expected we would ever have. You know, because it's like, thanks, Mom. I'm glad you listened.
Yeah. But now we're on 13 Catholic radio stations. We're all across Oklahoma. We're in Louisiana and into Kansas. And we were picked up by a online radio podcast company that's national, called Breadbox Media. And we have listeners, because we are able to check it out, we have listeners in Australia and Germany and Poland and Ireland. Korea. Yeah, actually, we got,
I'll tell it. I can do it faster.
Okay, you tell it.
So this guy reached out
really
to me.
quick.
He's a U.S. airman over in Korea, and he told me that he showed our podcast to the priest there in Korea, and the priest liked it so much. In his homily that Sunday, he preached about it and told every one of his parishioners to go listen to it. And sure enough, there it was on the analytics. Like all of a sudden, we have 50 people in Korea listening.
Whoa. So anyway, we say all that, like numbers are cool to look at, but it really doesn't mean anything if you're not bringing souls to Christ. Like numbers are cool, like that's fun to see that people are listening, but it really means nothing. And I mean, as Catholics, we're all baptized Catholics, and because we're baptized Catholics, Jesus told us, he didn't ask us, but he told us to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them. And so we're just here trying to do what God's telling us to do, which is just to spread the joy of the gospel.
Yeah.
And we've had the opportunity. We've had stories of people listening, and at least 3 people that we know of last year, because of Catholic radio, joined RCIA and is now in the church.
Yeah.
At least 3 that we know of.
Yeah. There was one gentleman at Church of the Madeleine who was just scanning through the radio stations and found our station and joined RCIA and said, now he's Catholic.
And that's what gets me
awesome.
That's what makes my heart just joyful, because if you think about it, let's just say 3 people. Let's just say one of them. One of them comes into the church and dies in the state of grace and goes to heaven. That was not in the Catholic Church before. It may have not even been a Christian. We've now changed eternity. That person is now eternally in the beatific vision, visualizing the beatific vision, and is now with Jesus. And that, if that doesn't get you excited, that doesn't make you almost want to cry, you need to check your pulse. Because that's what we're all called to do.
Yeah. So
we've just been so grateful and thankful to just be a part of this ride, because God has just done amazing things with this radio station, has put people in our lives that have helped us with the radio station. So really quick, we have a 5K rosary run that we're doing this year. It's a new thing that we just actually told the public today. And it's October 14th. David Schlittler, who goes here, he's helping us. He's like the head guy of the event. But we're doing a 5K run. It's a sanctioned 5K run. It's going to start downtown. And each kilometer is going to be sponsored by a Mystery of the Rosary. And so there's going to be a marker. So we're going to get Catholics and non-Catholics there, because it's a sanctioned run, and people who are runners want to do that, to put it under their belt that they're running or walking, if that's what you choose. So we're going to get people out there. They're going to be praying the Rosary. Each kilometer will be a Mystery of the Rosary.
We're going to be going right by a lot of the other Christian churches downtown.
Right.
They'll be on the loop, so we can kind of work them in. And there's the color run where they basically pelt you with colored dust and ruin all your clothes. We'll be handing out rosaries.
We're going to be pelting people with rosaries.
Yeah. I thought about that, about just rosaries, but then then you got all these rosaries on the ground. Okay, it's probably not a good idea.
But that's something that we're going to do. It's a fundraiser. Like I said, we are 100% listener supported. We are extremely shoestring budget, because we're about to hire our first person. Because Dave and I have kind of taken it as far as we can, and we've realized that we've taken it as far as we can. The only way we can continue growing it is by hiring somebody.
As the president, I'm morally obligated to tell you, if you would like to make a donation, you can go to stmichaelradio.com and make a donation on our website. Or you can mail us check in the mail. Address is also available on the website. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, but that's basically our story. So I do want to open it up for
because the questions are a lot more fun.
Do you benefit from the Oklahoma Catholic Network fundraisers?
Okay, so the last fundraiser that we did, they have a radiothon, semi-annual radiothon. And this last one, we did work out an agreement with them where everything raised from the Tulsa Diocese will come back to us. But if you want to make donations just day to day, if you go on their website and make a donation, that will just be their donation. However, the radiothon, that's the one thing that we have. That's the one fundraiser that we share.
Well, the reason I ask is because I made a donation to that.
Okay, good.
But I did not know that it would come back to you at the time.
Yes, it will.
Good.
But that was new with just this last one.
Thank you.
And we have a great relationship with those guys.
Yeah.
They are the ones who really got us launched. And we're an affiliate of theirs, and we work together on a lot of things. Fundraising, though, is one of those things that we do. We try to respect the diocesan boundaries. So, any other questions?
Do you have on-air sponsors?
Yes, we do. We have underwriting available. We also have, we're actually going to be launching a new thing this year where, like, let's say you own a business, or let's say you have a charity that you run, or foundation that you run, and you want to be the sponsor for that month. So you give us a set amount of money, and about 8 times a day, we'll say, this radio station this month is brought to you by the X Foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, our expenses are just under $5,000 a month.
And they're about to grow, they're about to be more.
Yeah, they are.
Because they're about to hire
that basically just covers the tower lease, the electric bill, the internet bill, and that's
because we don't have a studio either. That's another thing. Like, we just have a tower and then a computer underneath it in a shed, and then we remote everything from our home. We do everything from a computer on our home to run the whole radio station.
Yeah. So when it comes to fundraising, people typically don't like paying. Like, they would rather give to something where they're building something, or this is a project we're trying to get done. Giving for the electric bill is just not as exciting. But someone has to do it. Otherwise the radio station goes off air. So we're going to try to start a campaign where you can sponsor the radio this month, pay the bills for the month, and every message that is put out on the radio is because of you. You are sponsoring every act of evangelization this month. Every heart that is being touched, every single ear that is hearing something new for the first time is because you stepped up and paid that's really how important the bills are. You know what I mean?
Because if we go off air, it's not like another Catholic radio station will come on. It'll be a secular radio station. So we really want to.
And they probably won't even play good music. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of bad music.
Yes.
Real quick, there's one lady. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. If St. Mary's wanted to put a notice on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
what does it cost for a minute or 2 minutes?
That's a great question. So the question was, if somebody wanted to put it on like a 30-second spot, a commercial on the air, what would that cost?
Let me answer this question.
Okay.
That depends on what you want to do. Okay, so it's our policy that if you are a Catholic charity in Tulsa, that we will give you a 30-second spot for free all the time. Okay, so we have a lot of commercials right now that run for different, like Go Life, Mobile Medical is one. They're technically ecumenical, but if you're in the pro-life community, you're Catholic as far as I'm concerned. So it depends on what you wanted to run an announcement for. Is it an announcement because you guys have, we're parishioners at St. Benedict's. We have a food pantry that, so if we were going to be promoting that would be free. If you want to promote your fundraiser, then there would be a cost for that. So it depends on what it is. Typically, for a 30-second spot, for a business, we would ask for $200 a month. So that would cover the whole month. So your commercial would run, we guarantee that it'll run 8 times a day for the entire month. So if you,
Which is really, I mean, it's way underrated.
yeah, if you put that in perspective, you go to a country radio station and you want a 30-second spot to run one time during rush hour, it'll be about $500. That's just for a commercial to run one time. But you know, we don't have the overhead that they do. We don't have a studio. We're not paying 24 hours of disc jockeys to be there. So we really can offer, it's a service that we can offer to the community as well to help get your message out, whatever it is you're trying to do. Because we want to help build up the community. The radio station really has this unique ability to tie the parishes together in a way that nothing else can. You know what I mean? Where the radio station can be the common voice of the Catholic life in Tulsa. You know, this is the voice of the diocese. And everything that's going on in the diocese can be found here. And we want it to be that way. We want it to be a community-based radio station. So we try to keep our prices as low as we can. So
While still being on air.
Yeah, but at the same time, we do have bills to pay. So, you know, we have to, you know, balance out the needs that we have while still serving you guys.
We have a ministry here, home improvement, where we go out to people who are handicapped or 55 and over, and we are trying to make it diocesan, offer it to the whole eastern Oklahoma. And it's the perfect way to touch a lot of people.
Yeah,
We'd be happy
absolutely.
to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I was curious what your vision is for growth for your radio station.
Yeah, that's a great question. Growth for the radio station. We just hired somebody, right? Because we need more. Obviously, we need somebody who can raise funds for us. Because our whole goal is to make Tulsa.
Well, we haven't hired anybody yet.
No, we haven't hired. We're hoping to. We're hoping.
Accepting applications right now?
Yeah, we've just gone through the interview process, and we whittled it down to 2 people. Our goal is to make Tulsa like Omaha, or Wichita, or St. Louis. Because when you think of those towns, you think of that's a Catholic place. That's a Catholic city, and that's what we want to do. We want to make Tulsa a Catholic city.
Yeah.
So our goal is to cover all of eastern Oklahoma with Catholic radio.
We did our first billboard campaign this last year, where we were trying to brand Tulsa as Catholic radio country. There was incidentally some confusion about, is that a Catholic country station? However, we found in those instances they were so interested in what a Catholic country music station might sound like, they tuned in anyway. So
There's a win.
We were fine with that. But yeah, so we want to make this place, you know, we're about 8% Catholic here in the city of Tulsa. And that's just not enough. So we need more. Yes?
That fundraiser that you had where you had the panel of priests,
Yes.
what was
Yeah.
the name of that?
Theology at the Tower.
Are you going to keep doing that?
Yes, we will continue doing that. The first Friday of December, we host a fundraiser, and that really is kind of the moving force for us to keep moving forward. We host a dinner and a silent auction, and the fun part about it, it's not like a regular fundraising event. We have 4 priests within the Tulsa Diocese that come up on stage, and we take live Q&A session questions that the priests have to answer.
And Father Jack was on the panel.
Yeah, Father Jack was on the panel last year. So anybody who has a question about the Catholic faith or what's going on in the world today, they can ask the question, and we have 4 priests up there to give them answers. So it's a lot of fun. Yep.
Even the bishop even chimed in this last year and answered a couple. Bishop Slattery, that is.
Anyway, we thank you guys so much for letting us come and share our story. We ask 3 things: that you pray for us, that you tell 3 people about the Catholic radio station, and that if you can, we would love to partner up with you in a financial way. So we'd love you to be a part of our team. So pray for us. 3 people, tell 3 people about the Catholic radio station, 94.9, and we'd love to team up with you. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.